Well,
That's Bud Joe Eastridge, Bunk, and
is that John Flanigan off to the one side?
no,
No?
that's a basketball team of Bud and Doug and Arnie
Oh, yeah, Arnie Vogelsong.
and Jake and Doug
Yeah.
and Little Bunk, all of them.
Yep, I see him now.
Yeah, that's probably one of the best ball clubs we had after we started playing there. But Benny Dotson was our coach.
Yeah, that was a pretty good team.
That was taken in my basement probably in 1976.
Oh,
Yeah, I was trying to make up. I was going to try to make that larger in my computer, but I got a new printer and I can't get the damn thing to work. And here was a picture of Dealers, probably the whole high school, I imagine. But can you see that?
I've got the front row, but I can't, that's all I can see. So scoot it down a little bit more. That's it.
Okay. Now the guy on one end there was Julian Longus, and on the other end was Maury Flanigan.
Well, how about that?
And it looks like that was I looked at my old deal there, and that was probably, I know, class one, the 31, 32, and 33. That was probably the whole high school, but I didn't get the pictures on all of them.
Yeah. Huh.
Are you doing okay?
Yeah. About 3 weeks ago, I did test positive for COVID. However, I didn't have any real symptoms. I just took the test. Then I waited about a week and I tested negative. So who knows? I didn't feel bad, but I quarantined myself just to make sure I didn't get around people.
Did you have all three shots?
Oh yeah, I did.
I was reading today on it, and it seemed like maybe you should get that fourth shot.
Well, is it available yet?
Yeah, well, it seems like it wasn't what I read.
Well,
hi, Bobby. Looks like Bobby Mason's coming.
Hi, Bob Mason. Yeah.
How are you, Bob?
I'm okay.
Yeah, you know, Vic Megenity come down with a virus, but he probably doesn't drink like what I do to get rid of
it. What do you drink, Bob?
Well, usually a little Canadian Mist and Coke.
Okay, all right. A little bit of that. No problem.
Okay.
Well, there's
Hi,
Mr.
John.
There's John from Hawaii. All right, John.
You know, I'm going to see if John can make this out. That his dad is on this side there, right on the end. That you tell me when it's comes in there, right, Vic?
Come on up.
Up higher. What am I looking for?
That was probably the whole high school, and I know it's class 31, 32, and 33.
Up more. More.
Oh, there's Dad. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
Yeah, that was the whole high school.
Yeah. Now
I recognized a lot of the guys in there: Bruce Temple, Julian Longus, Joe Moss, and back a little bit was Gordon Dicus.
Move it to your left just a little bit. Is that Maury right there on the end, John?
He's on the right end of the picture on the front row.
Yeah.
As you face the picture on the right-hand side. Oh yeah, I see now. Oh yeah, that looks like him. Cute little old boy there, wasn't he?
I tried to get that enlarged, but I just couldn't do it.
Who are the girls in the background?
Well, the only one I recognized was Mildred Mathers. but I didn't recognize any of the girls. I tried to get that enlarged in my printer, but I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
I thought you guys might like that. I took my
Yeah.
deal. That was probably the class of 31, 32, and 33, and probably it was the whole high school. I don't know whether it went from 30 to or else 34 and things that I could see them, but it was more than one class. Hi, Melvin,
Della. Hey. Hi, Della.
Della May. It looks like we got almost a full crew. Hi, John.
I don't see Della up yet.
Well, I know her. She just came in there, though.
Okay.
Hi, Della. I think I woke her up. Well, Melvin, are you ready for the big game that was out your way today?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. I'm all set.
Oh, there's Melvin.
Yeah, basically, I always record it first, and then I wait a little while, and then that way I can go through the commercials and the timeouts and the injury times and all that other stuff, and
Oh, yeah.
run it at about twice the speed. Get through it at about twice the
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't have a girl break her bra or something on this one.
Oh yeah.
So, John, what time is it in Hawaii right now?
Just afternoon.
Just afternoon. 5 hours difference.
Right.
Okay.
So,
When you-
John, just out of curiosity, did you and your wife teach in other islands besides the Hawaiian chain?
In Samoa, American Samoa.
Oh, American Samoa. That must have been an interesting place.
We were there 12 and a half years. Yeah.
Well, is that a medium-sized island or really small? I'm not familiar with it.
When we got there, the population was 27,000,
Okay.
and now it's about 70,000.
Wow.
And it's still the same size it was back then.
Yeah.
So it's a
So
little more crowded.
people just leave in for lack of opportunity, or
Yeah, the main things they do is leave to go to the military or to go to college.
And one other thing they go to is football. Some of the big boys
And
play
football,
football.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They produce a lot of football players.
As John, as far as you know, has there ever been an idea that's been talked about them gaining independence from America?
They shoot that down anytime anybody brings it up.
Yeah.
They have no interest in it because it would require official things to be done that would deprive them of the property rights that families have.
Oh, okay.
And Americans could come in and buy property.
Ah,
And of course, in no time at all, they'd have it all bought up and the Samoans wouldn't have any property. So the Samoans
I see. Sure.
realize that. So they
I thought we were all Americans, John.
they are, let's see, it's an
Territorials
trust
or something?
territory. It's an unincorporated trust territory. So they have certain rights, but not they can move back and forth freely. For example, from America to there.
But they can't vote for president, can they?
They can't vote for president. They can only vote. They have a representative in Congress who has no vote, but he
Yeah.
introduced bills and things, but he can't vote for things.
That's probably like Puerto Rico, isn't it?
The district, the district too. They have a representative, but don't,
Yeah,
but they can vote for the president.
Now, Puerto Rico cannot vote for the president, can they?
No.
No, I didn't think so.
And Puerto Rico is similar in that they have a lot of people who feel that they would benefit by becoming a state, and a lot of people who feel that they would not. So they have that big fuss every
Yeah.
so often.
Yeah.
I think it's been voted down most of the time, but Puerto Rico is much
Voted down
bigger
every
than
time.
Samoa, of course,
Yeah,
both
yeah.
population and physical size. When I was in the Army, we had a large number of Puerto Rican soldiers. It was the Korean War draft was still on then, and quite a few of them were drafted in Puerto Rico, and they only issued them summer uniforms and sent them to Panama.
Ah,
It was a minor efficiency.
So they were drafted,
Yeah, they were drafted.
because I don't think the American Samoans are subject to the draft. Of course, there's no
There
draft.
hasn't been one for a long time, but probably not.
Well, there still was one when we first went there in '60.
Oh, was there? Okay.
But the military is a very honorable way of spending their lives. So a lot of them join the military. Very
Yeah.
common.
Yeah.
And they do very well. They're good soldiers and they're good football players because they're used to taking orders and not giving any guff to the
ah.
people above them.
Now, John, during World War II, I don't think America Samoa was taken over by the Japanese, were they?
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah.
They got shot at. There was a Japanese submarine that emerged, surfaced, and fired a couple of rounds. And the story is that it hit the store, the only Japanese store on the island. I'm not sure how.
Ah.
Good story. But there was a lot of military stationed there during the war. In fact, when we were building our new gym at the college, the backhoe dug up a coffin,
Oh,
and so they dug it out, and there was quite a little interest in it there for a while, and they finally just reburied it and forgot about it. So it must have been a graveyard. Now, if that had happened in Hawaii, there would have been a big fuss about it.
Yeah.
The Hawaiians are just really, really big on taking care of the bones of the ancestors and so on.
yeah.
But I think in Samoa, that was probably not a Samoan. It was a coffin, and it had a glass lid on it,
It's unusual.
and it was pretty well beat up. So that they figured it was some important person, so that he could be viewed.
Mhm.
But I don't know that any studies were ever done of it.
Okay, I've got a question, and I've asked this as a history teacher and a historian. We brutalized the Native Americans. We pushed them off, put them where we wanted them, out in Oklahoma, Kansas, and places like that. But while we were doing that, we were putting them on our gold coins. There's 26 states named after Native Americans, 26 of our 50 states. And the Buffalo nickel has an Indian on it. And then coins that go back into the time we were actually murdering them. Has anyone got any idea on why we were doing both? We were mistreating them something horrible and then honoring them with currency.
Victor, are you suggesting that we are hypocrites? Come on.
I think so. I think so. I've asked people that should know the answer to that, and like Indiana, that's named after Indians. 26 states total.
Yeah, but they can't figure out where in the hell Hoosiers came from.
Oh, you've heard that
yeah,
story, haven't you?
I've heard a lot of deals on it.
Yeah,
The best
there's
answer I've ever heard in that is that Hoosier is a southeastern term that stands for hillbilly. It's the hillbillies down in South, I think it was South Carolina, North Carolina, I don't remember where it was. And they have the Hoosiers down there that were the uneducated people that lived back in the woods.
I thought it was always said, "Who's here?"
That's
Yeah.
what I heard.
There's all kinds of stories like that, which I like the other one better.
Yeah,
Make more
You
sense.
know, they're come to find out we're all messed up and everything because the forts and everything was possibly named after someone who was a general or something. And all the guys that signed the Declaration of Independence had slaves, and
Yeah.
they're probably wanting to change everything that we've learned in our lifetime. And it seems though they're looking all the time to come up with something else. But,
Well, at least we're not Tar Heels. We're Hoosiers. We're not Tar Heels like North Carolinians or Tar Heels.
Let me ask the historian this question. How many cultures are there that have not oppressed another culture?
Oh, that's a good question.
true.
Very few.
That I keep seeing Della up there, but she hasn't said anything. I wonder if she can hear us.
Can hear
Della?
you.
Oh, Della, you're there. Okay.
Hello.
Now we can, I haven't been able to see you, Della. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you? I heard you had COVID.
I tested positive for COVID. I quarantined myself for about 9 days. Tested again. I'm tested negative then, and I haven't had any real symptoms. So anyway, I didn't have it like a lot of people have it,
Blessed. You are blessed.
I guess. Yeah.
Yes, I'm just sitting here enjoying listening to you all. So go right on with your conversation.
Well, we want to find out what's going on in Salem, Indiana.
Well, pretty boring, but
Pretty bored.
I'm still able to care for myself, and I'm grateful.
Yeah,
Gonna be 88 years old in March.
about that.
March what, Della? What is your birthday?
March 18th.
March 18th.
Yes,
I'll be 89 in March 27th.
really. Where's Gordon, by the way?
I don't see Gordon on the screen.
No. I've been getting a lot of messages from him. I usually get 2 or 3 messages from him every day.
Oh,
So that and what is all this thing that I'll be 95 in August the 26th.
You are blessed. Someone sent me some information today saying that out of 100 people, only 8 people live to be past 65. Is that amazing?
Only
oh,
8 out of 100.
That's true.
that's hard to believe.
Didn't know it was that low.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite right. I think well, maybe it's the life expectancy of when you were born. I know I looked that up one time, and the year that I was born in 1935, the life expectancy of a man was 62 years. So I'm on a little above that, needless to
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
as we all are.
You look, we probably get longevity and everything for our parents.
Yes, that's
Melvin, look how long your dad lasted.
right. And even he said that it was mostly his long life was mostly heredity. He said that himself, although he certainly never drank or smoked himself to death. That's for sure.
No. Yeah, but what kept him young was he chased women a lot, Melvin.
Yeah, that I didn't touch that other one, the third one. I think he's more chasing than catching.
Probably, yeah.
Well, he had a good life, and everyone enjoyed him. But you talk about English high school, and you talk about Bill Beasley.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone has a story on Bill.
That's for sure.
You know, Bill was a little bit unusual because he was a tenured teacher. Now, you know, there's been a law on the books since the early 1900s. If you sign 5 contracts in a row, you are a tenure or permanent teacher. My dad never made a permanent teacher. because after 4 years at Marengo, they'd switch him over to English, and someone from English would go over to Marengo. Then they could switch back. It's strange law. It really is. And if you make tenure, you can only be fired for insubordination. Let's see, insubordination.
Criminal behavior.
What's that?
Criminal behavior.
Criminal behavior. Yeah. And one other thing I forget. So it's, in other words, it's super hard to get rid of you after 5 years of, now, John and Samoa, was it that way?
And
Well,
some,
evidently, I must have had some really good teachers because Dick Blevins, Marie Goodwin, Bill Beasley, S.A. Bills, Miss Hobson's were all tenured.
Okay. Okay.
And I
Now,
think
when
maybe
I-
Mrs. Temple was too.
When we,
I remember Bill Beasley teaching a class, and of course, our bathrooms are in the basement. And he would say, everybody taking physics, grab 2 sheets and go to the basement.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that story was passed down through the years.
I was president in 1994 Union in New Albany, Floyd. I had 2 young beginning lady teachers that came to me and said, "Can you help us? We're about to get fired." And I said, "Well, okay, what's going on? Have you been insubordinate or something?" "Oh, no, we're pregnant." Both of them were about 3 or 4 months pregnant, and they found out at the end of the 5th month of pregnancy, you either resigned or you got fired. So I almost got fired myself over that because we didn't have a very strong union at the time. So I wrote a letter to the New Albany newspaper. How terrible that was. It was an archaic rule and so forth. So when that came out the next day, the superintendent called me down to his office and slammed that paper down. Said, "Don't you like working here?" And I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "You better take care of your teaching business and let everything else go." Well, that should have shut me up, but it didn't. So I contacted Indianapolis, and they sent one of their head honchos down with a boilerplate plan for pregnancy leave. So we had a meeting at my house, all ladies and this guy from Indianapolis. He said, "Now we're going to go straight to the school board. We're not going to bypass the superintendent." So we went to the school board meeting. And Bob, I lost your picture there. You still there? Yeah. Went to the school board meeting, and a lady friend of mine, it was a counselor at Scribner's, an older lady, said, "I'd like to present that to the school board. Liba Rice, bless her heart." I said, "Okay, Liba, I bet you got pregnant and had to get fired back in the 1940s or 50s. She, "Oh, I didn't get pregnant. I got married." She'd been fired because she got married. Back in up until about 1950 something, if you got married in most school systems, you were out of a job. Well, why? Because you could possibly get pregnant. That could disrupt education and so forth. So anyway, president of the school board, I remember his name, Jim Robinson Nugent. He was a big factory man in New Albany. He said, "Mr. Barkus, do we still have that policy?" Yeah, we've had it. And I said, I almost said since 1881, but I didn't say that. That's when it first came into play there. So anyway, he said, "Let's table this and we'll bring it up at the next meeting." Next meeting, they voted in the first pregnancy leave policy in Indiana. It was right there in New Albany.
You guys have,
By the way, just a side note, Jim Robinson was a classmate of mine at New Albany High School in 1952.
Robinson was?
Yeah.
Was he really?
who was that, Jim Robinson, they say?
Yeah,
Jim Robinson of
Robinson Nugent.
Robinson Nugent factory in New Albany. He was a good guy.
On your Facebooks, do you get pictures of people that wants to come on your Facebook and stuff? And
Yes.
that, you know, the other day I had one that came up and it was Mark Megenity. I don't know where they get those at. And I didn't follow through with it. I wish I had.
Don't know, huh? Well,
Had a picture of Mark when probably he was maybe 25 or something like that.
I think, as I remember, he rode back and forth for a few days or maybe a week or 2 or 3 from New Albany when you were working for the railroad. Didn't he ride with you back to
Pardon?
English some on weekends? He was living with me one summer.
I still didn't understand you, Vic.
Did he ride with you when you were working for the railroad from New Albany to English a few times?
I have no idea. I hauled quite a few people there.
Okay, all right.
When I was working there, I know 3 of the girls were going to beauty college. Angela Rickenbaugh, and it was a girl that she married a Shields boy who was about around Highfield, and a Robinson girl that they were going to beauty college there in New Albany. And I think, is your reception coming and going?
Mine is a little bit, but it's my own. I know that. It's not bad though.
Melvin, when are you going to come back down in this part of the country again?
Well, the only thing I have there is 2 half sisters anymore, and not. Well, of course, we're not traveling, haven't even considered traveling since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to consider that for what little family we have there, or I have there, versus, you know, fun vacation places, you know, as the choice.
Where do you live, Melvin?
Live just on the edge of Los Angeles.
Oh,
And we think you're a Rams supporter. Is that right, Melvin?
Yes, I am. You know,
Okay.
but not one of those tickets. The cheapest ticket is $4,600. That's the nosebleed seats, and
Way up,
and then it's $300 to park.
Oh my gosh. Oh wow.
I heard from the Eads guy, what's his name? And he lives in what, New Jersey, Delaware, somewhere up in that area.
Which East was that, Della?
Mr. Eads,
Oh, Eads. Okay.
who sometimes joins us.
Yeah.
That seemed like he was up in New England more. With Connecticut or someplace up there.
It's New Hampshire, I think.
New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Okay. No, we finally got the cannon moved up to the new town.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah, and now we're working, trying to see if we can get the old man English moved up
That's
there.
where he belongs.
Oh, yeah, but some ones that's on the other deal that likes to go back and one thing and another, that thinks he should be down there on the land that he donated to English. And nobody passes there anymore.
No.
He's too far away to get hit by a golf ball,
Yeah.
unless you really slice one.
Yeah.
I've been talking about it, but I can't get anybody interested. That Dale Rowe was.
If you
We thought
remember
we liked
20 years ago, Herb Smith was real interested in moving him someplace, wasn't he? Herb Smith? Yeah.
Yeah, remember Herb.
Yeah.
That
Now, you know, there's a duplicate statue of Mr. English in Scottsburg, in front of the Scottsburg courthouse.
yeah, you know, they think they might have problems moving the way it was put together. I figured if I could go up and see Jude at Columbus sometime and stop into the library there at Scottsburg and find out
Yeah.
who maybe had some records of how that statue was put together and stuff, and when you could move it.
Now,
But I
wait,
think-
are we talking about Mr. English
Yeah,
statue
no,
that
William
was in
H.
English?
Movie, Bob.
It's been moved to Scottsburg?
Yeah, that, it's both of them are just alike.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a duplicate, Della.
I'm sorry?
It's a duplicate, a second English statue, Mr. English.
Yeah.
Right. Hartford, that's what it was before. Remember
Mhm.
that?
Yep.
Before English, it was Hartford.
I saw something in one of those little histories that they actually had 5 furniture factories in English at one time.
Interesting.
There was still one, at least one when I was a kid, but I didn't remember anything like that
Right.
number.
There was one down by the park
Yeah.
that I remember.
I remember the old sulfur well they had down there. That, when I was a kid, that was pretty big and everything. You had maybe 4 or 5 spouts coming out of it. And we would always,
Well,
yeah,
well-
we get some kids that come out of the city and come down there and would play ball or something. We'd stop down there and get a drink of it. It was real cold and everything. We were used to it, but they would take about 3 swallows and then spit and gag and say, how in the world do you guys drink that?
where was this?
Well, it used to be down there where almost, you remember where the chair plane used to set up?
Oh, on the fairgrounds.
Yeah, on the fairgrounds. And that thing was real close to where it was.
Oh,
Yeah.
That
If you
was
walk
before
down
my
Old Man English, you'd pass that, and then you'd play where the chair plane used to set up,
Yep.
where Vic and his brothers used to kind of screw up.
Yep, that's right.
Speaking of sulfur water, I took a tour of the French Lick Springs Hotel one time. And the guy was telling us that, people came from all over to drink the sulfur water. And it was a high laxative type thing. And at that time, they had outdoor outhouses. To get from the hotel to the outhouses, you had to cross a bridge. And on this bridge, they hung canes. So as you went from the hotel to the outhouses, you picked up the cane and you hung it on the door of the outhouse that you were using. Well, one day the employees got mad about something. So they took all the canes and hung them on the doors. And
Oh,
these people couldn't use the outhouse.
oh, gee.
Some guy had diarrhea. He was in bad shape. Wasn't he?
Right. I thought that was a funny story.
Now, Bob, you and the rest of you, you've been down to Sulphur Springs below Sulphur, haven't you?
Yes.
Yep. I think that sulfur well down there is still putting out a little water from what I understand. And have you ever seen a picture of the hotel that was built down there?
Oh, yes. It was built up on the hill.
Yes.
But my mail route went by there. To go by Old Union Church on a county road that went by there. And before you got to 66, there used to be a plaque there, and it was up on the hill to your left. I've seen pictures of it and stuff. The people was there.
The guy that built that was Ellsby. The Ellsby building in New Albany, tallest office building in New Albany, downtown, was named after him. But I've seen a lot of research. He got his start in English, Indiana. he built the English State Bank. He lived a lot of years in English back about the 1880s and 90s. Finally moved to New Albany, and he became pretty prominent in New Albany.
Well, you know that all of you knew Kenny Luckett. His mother had won a beauty contest in Louisville, and the prize was a week at Sulphur Springs Hotel.
Really?
And John Luckett met her down there and started courting her and finally married her.
Oh, well, how about that?
Bob, do you have a book or anything on all your remembrances of English? Is there anything I could get? Because you have so much history and interest. I'd love to see it.
Well, there's that history of Crawford County. That's a pretty good book.
I think I have that. And something by Nick Roberts.
Oh, yeah.
Got that one too.
I've got Eb Roberts's story about early English. I've got a copy of that. It's not a booklet. It's kind of a pamphlet form.
I think I have something about my family's history that it included the building of 37 North that my dad worked on. And from that, I read that they call my dad Buzzard Stark. You
Yeah.
remember that?
Oh, yeah, they call Bob Little Buzzard.
Oh,
I always tell the one that's a state policeman that Bob's grandson, I guess, that this married an English girl, married Mike Benham's daughter. And sometimes I'd get in a little argument with him, and I says, I'm going to probably name you Buzzard after your grandfather. Bob and I were the two smallest guys on English ball team and stuff. And Herb would always run us out on the deal, and he'd run the tall guys out there first. And I finally said, it's strange, Herb, we got to follow them out there and everything. And Bob and I are always last. And he said, well, the next two games says one of you can go first. The next time the other one go first. So one time that Bob and I both got to lead the team out on the floor.
How about that?
you didn't answer my question, Bob. Have you written?
I don't have anything or anything that I know of. Someone said I should write a book, but
Well, do it quick.
all I have usually is hearsay and what I can remember. That my brother Clyde used to come up with quite a few things, but I never could really tell whether he was telling the truth or not because he was shade on the windy.
Well, Marilyn and I, his daughter, were good friends. She was a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Marilyn.
Yeah, Marilyn. Yeah, she was quite a girl.
Yes, she was.
She was a classy lady.
No, she got injured and got her neck broken in a swimming pool accident.
Yes, I remember that.
She she was in the hospital over in Louisville, and she was strapped onto this bed and had clamps on her feet and had another thing in her scalp that straightened her out. And every once in a while, they had to turn her over and things. Yeah. And she could only move maybe one or two fingers on one hand. And the doctor says one thing, she had two kids and said, one thing, I never want you to get pregnant again. So she went ahead and had two kids after that. And she got so she could play tennis.
Yeah,
she could never raise her hands up above her head. Nobody ever knew that.
She really was remarkable in her recovery and her life and the children. She must have had a lot of stamina.
Oh, she did. She did very well.
I've got a little bit. I think his last name, Bob Phillips, that was his name. He was, can you hear me, Bob? Yeah, okay. He was a lifeguard at the Clarksville swimming pool, and he watched Marilyn some because she was so cute. She was a nice, cute young lady. She dove. She was just floating on her with her face under, and her two kids were paddling around right next to her, but she wasn't moving a muscle. He dove in and pulled her out and probably saved her life. Oop.
Yeah, that's true.
The lifeguard,
Did you hear me, Bob?
the lifeguard saved her life.
Bob
Yeah.
didn't hear me, I don't think. Did anyone hear?
I
You're
heard
breaking
you.
up really bad, Vic, really bad.
Did you hear me, Della?
So Bob Mason, where do you live?
I live in Reston, Virginia.
Virginia?
Yeah,
Okay, we English people have ventured far. Most, I
Yeah,
didn't venture that far. Vic
Yeah.
and I are kind of close to home, but we
yeah.
got out of English.
we only live about 15 miles from Mike Flanigan.
From
Think
where?
about that.
Oh, you do? Okay. John, how's Mike doing these days?
Well, he still shows up for the Zoom meetings that we have every month,
Yeah,
and he still he still responds, although he seems to not be able to hear too well, and Mandy has to tell him that somebody's asking him a question. But then when he answers a question, well, he remembers. He keeps
Yeah.
complaining that he has no memory, but when you ask him something, well, he usually remembers it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So John, do you ever come back to the States?
I'm in the States, girl.
Right. I knew that was coming.
We're so sensitive about that here.
Well,
Hawaii is in
Okay.
fact a state.
Maybe you're supposed to
Okay.
say main man.
Sorry. I used to come back every year, but since of COVID, we haven't done it. We'll probably start again if the COVID business quiets down a little bit. But we're certainly going to make a trip there in, 2024, because Southern Indiana is going to have a solar eclipse. So Melvin, you might look that up and plan on visiting. during
when is it?
Yeah.
When is that?
I think it's in April in 2024. I'll look that up and be ready to tell you about it next month.
Okay, yeah, my wife likes that sort of thing. You
It's
from
coming
Hawaii?
It's coming right over Bloomington, the
Yeah.
center of the
Yeah.
eclipse. My brother, I'll be staying with him up in Bloomington, and we won't have to move. We'll just have to step out the door and
oh, boy.
look
Mhm.
at it.
Well, hopefully we'll all be alive and can join you in 20.
Well, let's hope so.
Well, yeah. I know we enjoyed going down to Paducah about 3 or 4 years ago. How many years has that been, John?
Yeah, 4 years ago, but that was a good trip, wasn't it?
It was a good trip, and that was the last trip I made with my brother Mark, and he
Yeah.
really enjoyed all that, and so did I. It's a good trip.
I remember you were all coming to my 85th birthday party.
That's right.
That's
That
right.
was how many years ago?
Well,
3 or 4?
probably close to 3.
3, I would say. Well, how old are you now, Della? We can do some arithmetic. and figure it out.
All right. She said she'll be 88 in March or
So that,
something.
so that's
Well,
3.
thank you for remembering that.
I had a little, he was asking about Gordon, and he said something about maybe going to Chicago. Maybe get lined up
Oh,
where they
okay.
fly, the veterans fly to Washington DC. And it had something to do with that trip. I don't know what it was.
Probably something to do with the Shriners. He's very
Oh, yeah.
involved
Oh,
Sure.
yeah,
with
yeah,
that.
big time. And no, Bob will tell us what the secret handshake is with the Masons, right, Bob?
You know, when I was getting to be a young man, my dad tried to get me to join the Masons, and I says, "Well, what do they do?" And he says, "I can't tell you until you join." He says, "Well, I'm not going to join if I don't know what they do." You know, so I sort of never got off the ground.
I've been a Mason since 53 in the past master Crawford Lodge. And finally our lodge went down and everything, and I belong down at Eckerty now. They have a fairly nice lodge down there.
Is it really?
Mhm.
Well, you know, they had open house in some of the buildings in New Albany, and I went up in the Oddfellows Lodge up on the 3rd floor in downtown New Albany. And there were some older gentlemen up there, and I saw a wooden box. It had white marbles and black marbles in it. I knew what it was. And if you want to get in that lodge, you have to give a speech, leave the room. And if they want you, they come up and cup a white ball in their hand and drop it in another part of the box. But if just one black marble shows up, you've been
Blackball.
Oh,
blackballed. And a lot of early fire departments use that, and some organization. And I asked this guy in the Oddfellows Hall, I said, "You still use that?" He said, "Oh, yeah, but we don't blackball anybody. We need all the new blood we can get."
Is Jeremy okay? Why
Yeah,
the
you
hell?
know, he's up east. He got up there in a big snowstorm. Well, and I believe, where was it? In Connecticut, John?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. He showed pictures of the various things and all of the snow that was piled up and everything. But he said he was really enjoying it, and he had been trying for years to get up there. And I guess he got a pretty good job up there, didn't he?
I guess so. I'm not sure what the details are of it. I haven't talked to him lately,
Yeah, he said something about a job.
but he
And
seems
everything.
happy with it. Yeah.
It seemed like he was really enjoying it.
Yeah.
You know, when it would snow in English, close to Courthouse Hill, we would sneak over, Bob and Doug and I, and there was one of the houses up toward the top of the hill that had an outdoor faucet and a hose. And we'd turn that hose on and we'd run water down over Courthouse Hill and class. So the next morning we'd sleigh ride down. We could go all the way down to Harv Hashman's store, that far for the hill. I mean, we'd
Yeah.
fly down through there. Then he
I
went
tell you.
going down with us, and he lost control right down to the old Methodist church, went down the ditch, jumped up, his arm looked funny, and he started running. He said, "I'm going to Pooch Gobble, I'm going to Pooch Gobble." He broke his arm. Pooch Gobble set his arm for him down there.
And Pooch used to tend a lot of injuries. And I think that a lot of times
what-
just free gratis.
Go ahead. I was going to ask what they're using the
Vic, is Mary Edith still with us?
Bob, what's the old courthouse up on Courthouse Hill being used for now?
I don't know. We had lodge up there for a while. We remodeled the courtroom. It was real nice, but they didn't take any of the records out of there. I was looking back into one of the thing, and it had a letter from Messamore.
Oh,
And they just leave it stayed, and they started using it as a storage room for the courthouse up there. They bring down old computers and everything and stuff. And finally, it got so that with all the stuff that grew on that things that people were having in lodge was having problems breathing. So we had to leave it. We had no place to go.
yeah.
And so
Have you been up there and looked at the jail behind the old courthouse? That's such a funny thing.
yeah, This is, they're just using it for storage and, I don't know, they have a lot of the old records up there.
Didn't the Historical Society buy a little storage building out by Dollar General store? Store records that they took out of the courthouse. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Well, they have some of them up there and things where the old Western Auto used to be.
That's right. Yeah.
They have the veterans officer in there. And then back in the back, they have a lot of things and stuff. And that's in there where you can buy a brick and have it put in the deal there for the veterans deal.
Right.
Have your name on it and what branch of service you were in and stuff. They have an awfully lot of bricks up there. And that's where the cannon is and stuff that,
Which way is it pointing? Is it pointing out across the highway?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. One of the guys figured it doesn't have any, where you put the shells in and close it up.
Yeah.
That thing is going, but he said, I'm going to try to figure out a way when they have a deal for Memorial Day that I can get something in there to go off and shoot out the end of it. So I don't know whether he got it figured out yet or not.
Oh, boy. Now, what was the cannon before this one? What era did it come from? The one they scrapped
I
out.
think
for
that was
World War
a
II.
captured
I have
German
no idea.
cannon, if I remember the history right. A World War I captured German cannon, as I
What
remember.
war, John?
World War I.
World War
World
One.
War One. Now, what cannon is the one we have now? What era?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Beasley still has those one or two cannon out in front of the courthouse there.
Yes.
Those were Civil War cannon, weren't they?
You know, the courthouse at Paoli is the oldest courthouse in Indiana, still in use.
English,
Paoli
Paoli.
is the
Okay.
oldest courthouse in Indiana. I think it's 1851, I think. Now, the
It's pretty-
Salem courthouse, Della, was in trouble about 3 years ago. The big tower had a lot of cracks in it.
Right?
Did they ever get that stabilized?
I think so.
Okay.
The first contractors didn't do a good job.
Yeah.
And so I think they finally hired somebody who fixed it. It looks pretty stable.
Okay. You know, down through the years, like in New Albany, there was a beautiful courthouse that they tore down about early 60s. And they built a big old ugly flat top roof square courthouse. And they've done that all over the state. English, Indiana is another good example. They tore down a beautiful courthouse up on the hill and replaced it. You remember that one, don't you, Bob?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And you
they
know,
replaced it
they
with
had
another building.
all of the offices up there had their own coal stove up there.
Oh,
And
okay,
the
yeah.
people that had there when Lois was worked up there, and there was upstairs next to the courtroom, and they'd have to go down and get a bucket of coal,
Oh, boy.
carry it up to fire the thing up, and then take the ashes out. And each office up there had their own stove that they had to keep the thing fired up.
Yeah.
So I guess if you worked up there, that you would probably be a little bit nicer when that court came on. You had air conditioned heating.
Yeah. And the outhouses, they used outhouses back then, didn't they?
Yeah, they had an outhouse. I
Yeah.
think it might have been about a 6-holer.
Yeah. Oh, God.
And I think they had a pump. They had a pump outside for their water.
Oh, boy.
When I started English grade school, we had outhouses. Remember that,
Oh,
Vic?
yeah.
Oh, sure. I do remember it. Bob remembers it too. John, do you remember outhouse at English?
Oh, yeah, they had up there, they had his and hers. at the school.
Yeah.
Push one of them over every Halloween.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I wonder when they installed inside bathrooms in the English school. Historians help.
Well, they had on the school they built up there in 14 had, I think they had the inside plumbing.
When
But they,
when,
but
when was that school built?
19 and 14,
And they put in bathrooms at that time? No.
I think so.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Yeah, and they had running water and stuff. I think there for a while, John Luckett owned the water rights and everything. He put in it. He only had either 8 or 9 big springs around the town that furnished the water for the town.
But I would have started school in about 1940 and we had outhouses.
Yeah, I know it, but you also had inside plumbing.
But not
We only
outhouses.
used it- we
Yeah,
only
they still-
used the outhouses when the plumbing was not working. If the water got shut off for some reason, we'd use the outhouses, but we very
Yeah.
rarely had to use the outhouses.
Okay.
Really?
They were built, I think, by the WPA. It had concrete flooring and everything. They
Yeah.
were pretty elaborate and stuff, but that's what they ended up there with because
Yeah.
I think the WPA built them. And there was a lot of them. We had one up home that was built by the
We're getting a
WPA.
notice. We're gonna be shut off. I've enjoyed. Love you guys. Hope to see you
Okay.
next
Okay.
month.
All right.
Okay.
Good to see you again.
Oh, yeah.